Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius and Anucauskas. Do apologize for the slightly late start as my colleague was finishing off with his video. So yep, welcome everyone to this Tuesday's afternoon session. Today's the 19th of March 2019, and in this session, as always, we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, maybe a few interesting setups, but before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then guys, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to show here is the Dow Jones. Now looking at this index, continues to push higher, continues to trade now above this key area of resistance near the 25,965 zone, but to be honest, the more important one is of course the psychological 26,000. So it managed to push itself above it. Let's see how this is going to perform today, because you can see that it's currently struggling to get above its today's R2, which is around the 26,015. So for now we remain very careful with this one, because yes, on one side it managed to travel above the 26,000, but to be honest, it's not really as a strong move as we would expect. Certainly, like I said, the next potential area here of that we're looking at here is this little high that we saw here back on the 4th of March, and that's approximately around the 26,160. So which also actually coincides here with this R3, with today's R3, and of course keep your eyes on that one. But again, we would like to see a nice good firm push away from this R2, which is around the 26,015, and this way we could then target this 26,160. Now, one positive thing that kind of supports this idea, the upside idea, at least in the short run, is the fact that now the index is trading above this this tentative downside resistance line here. You can see that taken from the high of the 25th of February. So that's why we could see potential move further up here, maybe even, like I said, initially towards the 26,160, or then maybe we could retest the high of the 25th of February, which was around the 26,245 level. Now this could be a very nice potential area of resistance, but if we see the index traveling towards these two levels, we're just gonna remain very cautious then, because we're gonna probably just reevaluate everything once again, because if this still has, if the bulls still have the strength and the power to drive this one further, then yep, that's wonderful. A nice good break above the 26,245 could lead towards higher areas, and in terms of higher areas, we do have where to go. For example, you can see that the all-time high here was still near the 26,955 area, approximately there. And for us, let's say if we see a nice good push above the 26,245, the next potential target here could be this little high that we saw here back on the 9th of October, and that was around the 26,550 zone. So but again, this is something for the future. For now, from more short-term perspective, keep your eyes on the 26,160. Let's see if it actually, the index manages to reach that level. In terms of the downside, if this decides to travel back down and drops below this little tentative downside resistance line, certainly we would caution the bulls a bit, but to be honest, if we see a further slide lower and we see a break below this area here, below the support support zone around the 25,800 level. Now this is where probably the bulls could start getting worried, and in a way actually the steering wheel could be given to the bears, and we could see further declines, maybe actually going towards the 25,440, or even actually lower here towards this low that we saw here back on the 11th of March, and that was approximately around the 25,205 zone. But again, that's quite a bit of a move here, let's say. That's why for now we're going to be very careful, especially with this little downside resistance line. We're going to keep on monitoring it. If this suddenly reverses back down and travels below this, then yep, the bulls should start worrying here a little bit. But if this continues to push further away from this R2, which is around the 26,015, then yep, the next potential target, a very good potential area of resistance here, could be seen near the 26,160 level. So keep your eyes on that one. Let's jump into gold. Now gold, I was talking about this one in one of my previous videos, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this level right here at around 1311 zone. So excuse me, today we've managed to reach that, but you can see that kind of it struggled to overcome it. So this is where the today's R2 also is. So that's why we're going to keep on monitoring this level very carefully. And to be honest, in one of my videos where I was talking about gold previously, I was telling you guys to keep an eye on this area. This is a quite important one, because if this struggles to overcome this, then we can in a way forget about the 1315 zone, 1315 16 level, because this, to be honest, for us to get more comfortable with much higher areas, we would, or at least in near term, we would like to see a strong push above the 1315 16 zone, approximately there, and only then we'll target higher areas. But if this if this struggles to get even above the 1311 zone now, as it is right now, then, well, I mean, we could see maybe a bit more correction here. Now also you can see that we're still trading above this little short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 5th of March, and now it's a bit of a tentative one. I do understand that, but still something that continues to play out nicely. So in a way, what you could do here is, of course, monitor this upside support line. For us, let's say, to get more comfortable with the downside on this one, we would like to see a good drop below the psychological 1300 level, because to be honest, even if this travels lower, if it could find some good support here near the 1302, or even, like I said, this upside support line, and we could see maybe this one curving up and pushing back up again. So in a way, that could be a scenario, but for now, that's why we're going to try to play the safe game here, and wait until this decides to drop below the 1300 level. And if it does that, then yep, we will start aiming for lower levels like the 1290, or even going further down. But for now, this is the game plan for us. It's, to be honest, it's better to be safe than sorry. And again, on the upside, especially today, keep your eyes on the 1311. Let's see if that gets broken or not. If it does get broken, then yep, the next top could be around the 1315 16 zone. So but again, as I mentioned before, we need to see a firm break here and a close a daily close above this area here in order to get more comfortable with higher areas. Let's jump into a few pairs now, and the one is that I really wanted to touch on here is the EURGBP. Now, looking at this one, of course, overall still trading below its downside resistance line taken from the high of the 2nd of January, but you can see that recently kind of it's failing to make a lower low, and it continues to try and climb higher. Now in terms of the downside here, what we're looking at it here, of course, is we're looking at this level right here at around 0.8530. But to be honest, that would be just more of an obstacle, because if this decides to get broken, or should I say, if the pair decides to break this one, then yep, further declines are possible. Of course, then we will target this little area of support around the 0.8507, something like that. But to be honest, the more important one for us is this one right here. the 0.8473 zone, which you can see played out very nicely here back on the 13th of March and also on the 11th of March. So acted as a very good area of support. So that's why for us, from the very short-term perspective, what we will look at here is the 0.8530. If we see a break below that, then yep, the next stop for us could be this 0.8507 zone. But if that fails to withhold as well, then yep, we could see a retest of this 0.8473 area, approximately there. So that's why, guys, be very careful with this one. That's in terms of the downside. In terms of the upside, now this is where it becomes a little bit tricky, because you can see that it continues to travel higher, and it managed to reach yesterday. It managed to reach this high near the 0.8595 zone, approximately there, and or should even in 94, so something like that. So of course, if this continues to push higher, if we see actually a nice good push here above this this red line here, which is the 50 EMA, and if we see a nice push above that, then yep, the next target for us again could be this 0.8594 zone, which also coincides with the 100 EMA shown here as the green line. And if that fails to withhold, then yep, we could see a retest of this downside resistance line that I was talking about. So it would be very interesting to see that if we actually get a nice push. So, but to be honest, for now, looking at this picture, of course, if we see a nice good push above the 50 EMA here, then yep, the next potential target here is going to be this one, as I said, the 0.8594, and of course we could then target further higher areas up until this downside resistance line. So for now, continue observing some of these key areas of support and resistance, and let's see how this is going to play out. And for now, looking at this pair, of course, it is something more it looks more bullish than bearish, given the fact that it's also above the pivot, but we need to see a strong push above this 50 EMA first, and then we'll target slightly higher areas. Jumping into GBPUSD now, this one I was talking about this one in one of my recent videos, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this these two levels here. So the 1.3220 zone on the downside, and the 133 level on the upside. Now this is what I hate the most when it happens, when we get like something like a false breakout here. So you can see that today we already managed to push higher. We had a nice spike here to the upside, broke this 133 level, but kind of never stayed above that. So and you can see that the pair quickly retraced back down below this little in a way tentative downside resistance line. So for now, we're still going to remain somewhat neutral here. We need to see a clear break here above the 133 level, and then we will target higher areas like the 133.50, or even actually further up here towards the 133.80, which marks the high of the 13th of March. Now in terms of the downside, still the same game plan remains. We need to see a drop below the 132.20 zone in order to kind of aim for lower levels. Of course, today, don't forget that we do have the UK Parliament vote again, so we might see some volatility here, and we could eventually see this pair actually breaking through one of these levels here. So either the 133 here on the upside, or the 132.20 on the downside. So be very careful today. Keep an eye on the vote, and yep, always have your stop loss in place, guys. And the last pair for this session I wanted to quickly touch on was the USDCAD. Now look, you can see that it's selling off nicely here, so it's breaking some of our key support levels. And I was talking about this one in one of my previous videos, where basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this 133 zone. So this could be that gateway towards lower levels, and for now, of course, we can see that it's exactly that, and it opened the door towards this next potential area of support near the 132.80, which also got violated here. And you can see that this is where the pair traveled to, almost managed to reach the 132.40. And actually, let me just correct slightly here. It managed to reach, so yeah, it almost managed to reach this 132.43 level, which marks the high of the 22nd of February, from which it kind of it fell shy just a few pips of touching that, and reversed back to the upside. So now it's currently sitting slightly below the S2. Certainly the downside kind of momentum is still here. We could see maybe this one traveling a little bit higher, but to be honest, if it fails to drive back above the 132.80 level, we could see something of like this. Basically, let me just quickly draw this on our chart. So if it fails to drive back above the 132.80 zone, we could see another leg of selling, which could lead towards the 132.43 zone again, and if that fails to withhold, then yep, further declines are possible. Now don't forget that there is a very good potential area here of support, which is this long-term upside trend line, and that has been running here from the 1st of February 2018. So keep your eyes on that one. At the moment, you can see that the pair is moving in that direction, but for now, be very careful. We need some confirmation breaks here before we can start aiming for much lower areas. So in a way, for those who are more on the cautious side, you could in a way wait until this drops below the 132.43 zone, but if you're more adventurous, then if, let's say, this fails to drive back above the 132.80 zone, then yep, we could see, like I said, another leg of selling here, and we could see this one traveling further down. In terms of the upside, for us to get more comfortable now with higher areas, or at least to consider higher areas, we would like to see this one traveling back above the 133 zone, and only then we will aim for the 133.70 or even higher. Of course, if we see a move back above the 133 level, then this could also the upside could also be supported by the fact that the rate could get back above the 200 EMA as well, so could be seen as a positive for traders here, and more bulls could start joining in and potentially driving this one higher again. But for now, this is where the pair is, and continue observing some of these key levels that I've mentioned, and let's see how this is going to play out later on. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and if you want to join me later on at my traders tomorrow morning at my Traders Espresso, and that's 7 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.